As evening fell, Sayma and I went to the field behind the paddy field. There was a jungle next to the field. We were both there, and no one else. Today, our 1-year-long relationship would reach its peak. I placed my hand on Sayma's shoulder. She pulled it away. Her eyes were still full of embarrassment. She was very shy, or perhaps very old-fashioned. It had taken me a lot of effort to bring her this far. My friends had crossed this stage long ago. Many of them had been with their girlfriends in bed within just 3 months of starting their relationships. Others had their girlfriends proposing to make the relationship official. But Sayma was different. For some reason, she wasn't interested in such things. I tried to explain. I even tried to tempt her, but she wouldn't agree. Was there any fun in a relationship outside of that? It was like eating a curry without spices. Still, she was here today. She came only because I pressured her. I told her if she didn't let me fulfill my desire today, I wouldn't stay in the relationship anymore. The girl loved me madly. She had said no at first, but after 2 weeks of not talking to her, she finally agreed. Once she agreed, I faced another problem. Where would we go? My friends usually rent a hotel room in town for such things, but I didn't have enough money for that. My parents gave me a very limited allowance for pocket money. Renting a hotel room with that was impossible. Then I remembered this paddy field. No one came here after dark, and even if someone did, they wouldn't be able to see us. It was winter, and the fog began to settle as the sun set. The sky turned a deep blue, and the migratory birds flew back to their nests. Sayma and I watched them. Sayma's eyes were still full of embarrassment. She had told her family she was going to a friend's house for some urgent work. She had to return home quickly. We didn't have much time. I leaned in slowly towards Sayma. At first, she turned her face away. I gently held her face in my hands. For a while, we just looked at each other. The evening shadow made her face appear dim, but her eyes still sparkled, wet with emotion. I kissed her on the lips. Our first kiss. She stayed stiff, not responding. After a moment, I pulled back. She kept her eyes lowered. Time was running out. I placed my hand on her sweater. It was woolen, with buttons in front. One by one, I started unbuttoning it. Sayma kept her gaze lowered. When the buttons were undone, I spread the sweater to the sides like wings. Sayma shuddered, perhaps from the cold, or maybe from excitement. The evening shadows thickened. I placed my hand on Sayma's chest. She flinched. She grabbed my hand and said, "No, please, no." I didn't want to listen. I didn't want to hear it. After so much waiting, I couldn't let go of this moment. I said, "Sayma, listen. Why are you stopping me? What we are doing is completely normal. This is what 2 adults do when they love each other. Don't worry, your body won't be tainted. There's no such thing as a pure body. When we're hungry, we eat. Eating doesn't make the body impure. So why would fulfilling a bodily need make it impure?" Sayma stayed silent. I knew she was struggling inside. There was a storm of hesitation in her mind. My urban logic was trying to influence her rural mindset, but it wasn't working. Her ingrained traditions were holding her back. I spoke again. "Don't think too much. At first, it will feel strange, but after the initial awkwardness passes, everything will be fine. The first embarrassment, the first fear, it's all like that. Once it passes, it will be a flood. You won't be able to control it." Sayma looked at me. I saw an invitation in her eyes. I took off her sweater, and then I moved my hands to her tunic. It was soft, with delicate embroidery, a light yellow color. I slowly removed her tunic from her body. She helped me with trembling hands. In the distant corner, night had already fallen. The fog thickened even more. The school on the other side of the field was now a shadow. Stars began to appear in the purple sky. I looked at the sky. I couldn't move towards Sayma. What was wrong? Was I being overcome by a century-old hesitation? I looked at Sayma. She was holding her body with both hands, sitting there. She seemed to be shivering from the cold. She looked at me and said, "Doesn't it feel unusually quiet here?" Quiet. Yes, quiet. That's why I brought her here. No one comes here. People are afraid of this place. They say this field, from one end to the other, the nearby jungle with its betel nut trees, is haunted. Many claim that after evening, the place doesn't belong to this world anymore. It merges with some unknown world. I didn't believe in such things. I moved slowly towards Sayma. Before that, I removed my own clothes. I leaned into the wet grass of the field, bringing Sayma with me. I began to kiss her face, her eyes, nose, neck, and shoulders. Suddenly, Sayma shouted, "Hey! Hey! Someone's there!" I looked around. No one. Sayma said, "I saw someone standing on the other side of the field." I turned my attention back to Sayma. I kissed her again. She clung to me and began to tremble. Then, suddenly, she stiffened. I asked, "What happened?" She said, "Someone's watching us from the tree over there." I looked towards the tree. Nothing. I said, "Why are you acting like this? Please, calm down." Sayma insisted, "I swear, I saw someone." I tried to focus on my actions. The darkness had fully descended. The school building on the other side of the field was no longer visible. We were at the edge of the field, with the jungle beside us. The darkness had already arrived in the forest. Time was running out. I continued to touch Sayma, my hands exploring her body. Her scent was no longer there. My face and hands roamed over her. Slowly, Sayma responded, and I realized the moment had arrived. I had to lose myself in her now. But then, suddenly, Sayma screamed. She kept shouting, "People! People! There are so many people! They're watching us from behind the trees. So many people." I looked at the forest again. There was no one. I tried to calm her. "There's no one. You're imagining things. It's your fear that's creating these images. No one is watching us." But Sayma didn't stop. She kept shouting, "People! People! I can still see them. They're moving closer. We can't escape. They're not like us. They don't look like us at all." Suddenly, Sayma started shaking violently, like a person in hysteria. She trembled and said, "They're coming. They're coming. We won't survive. No one will." Her face twisted with terror. She was shaking uncontrollably. Her eyes, those beautiful eyes, were no longer normal. They had rolled back, and all I could see was the whites of her eyes. Then, suddenly, Sayma stopped. She began to laugh. It was a strange, eerie laugh. It wasn't the sweet laugh I knew. It was harsh, guttural, like the laugh of an older man. Then she spoke in a strange, gruff voice. "They won't let anyone survive." Her eyes were still rolled back, completely white. I was a little distance away from her. Suddenly, she lunged at me. Everything I had been doing, she began doing to me. My body recoiled in disgust. I tried to push her away. She wouldn't let go. She gripped me even tighter. with strength that felt like it came from 10 men. I tried one last time. I pressed her away with my feet and rolled toward the forest. A tree was ahead of us, a creation tree. Her body slammed into the tree. I stood up, grabbed her head with both hands, and slammed it against the tree. She laughed maniacally, even as her skull cracked open, spilling blood and brain matter everywhere. Her body slumped to the ground, lifeless. I ran. I reached home and immediately took a shower, the cold water pouring over me. I trembled in fear. What had happened? Was there any explanation for this? I lay down on my bed, my body burning, with fever. I pulled the blanket over me. I turned off the fan. The window was beside my feet. The wind blew in through the window, and I had to close it to stop the cold. But then, I saw Sayma standing outside the window, just like she had before her head was shattered, standing there with her terrifying face and a strange smile. I realized it wasn't a dream, nor was it feverish hallucinations. Sayma had come back. She was standing outside my window, in my balcony, her eyes wide open with no pupils, just the whites staring back at me.